we have looked at the force due to a spring. So this is a mass on a spring. See, it is right there. It's a whole spring. And we know that the greater this spring stretches, the more the force it exerts. We call that Hooke's law. Now, but what would happen if I pull the mass down? If I hold it right here, now the force pulling up is greater than the gravitational weight on the mass because I'm also pulling down with some force. And if I let go, what's going to happen is now the force pulling up is going to be greater than the weight, and it's going to accelerate up. But then as it moves up, the force changes. So let's just see what happens. So it oscillates. It turns out that this is a really big deal. Now, it's also kind of difficult to solve this at the algebraic level in physics. We can't solve for the motion of this mass because the force from the spring keeps changing. But we're going to do it anyway. We're going to do it using a numerical calculation. So I've talked about numerical calculations with position and velocity so far, and so we're going to do it with the force. And this is an amazing problem and super useful, and it comes up all over the place. So let's just do it. I'm going to do not the most rigorous calculation here, but one that's the easiest to understand. Okay, so before we get into Python, let's just start drawing some pictures here, and let's try to figure out what's going on. So I have a mass and a spring, like that. And let's say I pull it down here. So now I pull it down there, I can calculate, I have the spring constant K, I have the mass M. So at this point, right when I let go, there is an upwards force from the spring, Fs, and a downward gravitational force, mg. And so if I use Newton's second law in the y direction, I have F net in the y direction is going to be equal to Fs minus mg, and that's ma. And now let's just say, just to make things easier, let's say that at this equilibrium position is y equals 0. So down here it has some negative y value. So the y value then would be the force due to the spring. Remember, Hooke's law says that this is k times s, but s is y. So I'm going to put that in up here. I have k y, right? It's upwards. It's actually negative because I have a negative y value, right? So, and then the force is up. Minus mg equals ma. That's a y, and that's a g. Okay. Now, let me go ahead and solve for the acceleration. So I have an acceleration as negative k over m y minus g. The problem is that if I use this acceleration to find the change in velocity, then my change in position, my position is going to be different. It's going to have a different acceleration. You can't use the kinematic equations. The kinematic equations are only for constant acceleration. So what we need to do is to cheat. So we're going to cheat by saying delta t is 0.01 seconds. So we're going to just take a tiny little time interval. And during that time interval, I'm going to assume this acceleration is constant. So if I assume the acceleration is constant, then I can say A, I'm switching to one-dimensional coordinates here because we're only moving in the y direction. This is going to be the change in y and velocity with respect to time, which is v2 minus v1 over delta t. We did that before, okay? And I can use this. So v1 is the velocity right at the beginning of the time interval. v2 is the velocity right at the end of the time interval. So it's v1, v2. And so I can find that v2. So if I solve this for v2, I get v2 is v1 plus a delta t. So if I multiply both sides by delta t, I get a delta t. And then I add v1, I get that. Now what I'm going to do is to pretend like the velocity is constant. So we can define velocity as the change in y with respect to time. So I can write that as y2 minus y1 over delta t. And yes, this is the velocity at the end of the time interval. Trust me, that's what you need to do to get a good result. If you switch that and use the velocity at the beginning, it still kind of works, but this is the most accurate way to do it. So if I know the position at the beginning of the time interval, I can find the position at the end of the time interval. So if I solve this for y2, I get y2 is y1 plus v2 delta t. So we have here our recipe, right? The recipe is number 1, calculate the acceleration. And the acceleration depends on the position of the object. Number 2 is to update the velocity. So I'm going to calculate the acceleration, and I'm going to, based on the initial velocity, I'm going to update the velocity. And I'm using that time interval. And then finally, number 3, I'm going to use that velocity and update the position. Now that the position changed, my acceleration changes. So for the next time interval, I'm going to have a slightly different acceleration. I'm going to need to do it again. Okay, so I'm going to keep doing that again and again. So if I have a time interval of 0.01 seconds, and I want to see how this thing moves after 1 second, this would be 100 times. I'd have to do these, right? I have to do 0.01 second time interval 100 times. So we sacrifice the number of calculations we need to do, and in return, we get a simpler calculation. These are simple calculations, okay? I can calculate these things for a time interval. I don't want to do it for 100 time intervals, but I could, okay? These are so simple that even a computer can do it. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we need to pick some values for, we're going to use numerical calculations, so it uses numbers, so we need some values. So let's just go ahead and pick some stuff here. I'm going to say the mass is 200 grams, because that's what I had, 0.2 kilograms. The spring constant, I'm going to say it's 15 newtons per meter. I'm going to pull it down, so Y1 is equal to, let's say, 0.03 meters, 3 centimeters. And I have a time interval of 0.01 second. And then, of course, the initial velocity is 0. So that's what I want to model the motion of that object. Okay, so we're going to do that in Python. Let's just jump into it and get started. So I'm switching over here to Python. And this is a Web VPython, so you don't have to install anything. I'm using Trinket, even though this is probably going to go away. I'll give you a more permanent link to the code if you want. Let's just go ahead and write down put in the values that we know we're going to need. So I have them. So I'm going to define a variable called m for the mass, and it has a value of 0.02. Now, if you wanted to do something like include units, you can. Put it as a comment. So anything after the number sign is a comment, and the computer ignores it. You don't have, I'm not going to put the units in there because we just want to get things working. I have the spring constant of 15 newtons per meter. I have a G. I am going to need that, 9.8. I have the initial Y. I'm just going to call it Y. And I'm going to put it at negative 0.03. Remember, we said that the equilibrium point, I'm trying to think. I don't think that's right, because actually I'm going to change up my problem here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it at the equilibrium point and let it go. So I'm going to do this motion. So I'm going to put it at non-stretched and then let it go. So I'm just going to do this and then drop it. Okay, so that'll be a little bit easier to start. We don't have to calculate things away. So the initial position is 0. I do need the initial velocity of 0. I have negative 0, which is fine. And now I'm going to need my time is 0 and my time step is 0.01. Okay, now what do we want to do? We want to keep doing this at least for a second. We can change it later. And so to do that, we're going to use a while loop. So in Python, I can make a while loop. I'm going to say while, let's do while t is less than 0.2, just for now. So this will do everything after the colon that's indented, tab indented, until that is no longer true. So what I'm going to do is to print t, and then I'm going to increase the value of t. So I'm going to take the value of t, I'm going to add the time interval dt, and I'm going to set that equal to t. So that will change the value. I'm going to run this, and let's just see what happens. So there you go. So it ran 0, 0.01, 0.02. It did exactly what we'd expected it would do. Okay, so that's good. Now, we want to keep that in there, and I'm going to put this at 1. Okay, I don't want to print it out because it's too much. We'll deal with that later in just a second. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is to calculate the acceleration. To do that, I'm actually going to calculate the force first. So I'm going to say f, and we already did this. In the y direction, we're only dealing with the y direction. F is going to be equal to negative m times g minus k times y. So if I release this at rest at y equals 0, the very first calculation, the net force is going to be down, right? Because it's just gravity. The spring's not acting on it at all. Now I can calculate the acceleration, F over m. You could do this in more than one step, but I'm doing it this way. Now I'm going, so that's really two, I did that in two different lines in the board. I did it as one, doesn't matter. I'm going to now update the velocity. V equals V plus A times dt, and now I'm going to update the position. Y equals Y plus V times dt. And again, notice that there are no subscripts here because this just takes the value of the velocity, adds A times delta t, and then makes that the new value of the velocity. So I don't really need V1, V2, V2. I'm just continually changing the variables. So I calculate the acceleration, update the velocity, update the position, update time, and that's it. And if, you know, we could come down here and say, what's the Y position? I'll just print Y, and we can just see if it does indeed move. And then we'll do a much better job. Okay, so that's right there. So it's moved, it gave me something. But I want to see where it is in each time interval so I can get a plot. So we need to make a graph. To make graphs in WebVPython, you really just need two things, but I'm going to use three. And the first is an object called a graph. And this has the ability to put axis labels and things like that. So don't need to give it a name, but I am G1. It's an object type graph. So graph is a built-in function in WebVPython. Okay, it's a built-in object. And so it has certain parameters that I can give it. You can look those up, but I'm just going to tell you the ones you want. I'm going to give it a title. I'm going to call it mass on spring. I'm going to give an x title. You got to spell it right. And that's just going to be equal to time with units of seconds. I'm going to put a comma and then return. You can wrap a parentheses around like that, and it's the same thing, but that way you can see it all. Y title is going to be equal to y in meters. And I'm going to, those are just text. Whatever text you put in there in the quotes is going to put on there. And then I'm going to give it a width of the graph of 400 and a height of 200. And that just makes it smaller than normal because I'm zoomed in, and I want you to be able to see it. So that just makes the graph. If I run it, nothing different is going to happen because I didn't plot anything on it. Next, I'm going to make something to plot. I'm going to make what's called a G-curve. So I'm going to give this the name F1, and it's the type G-curve. So G-curve just takes points that you give it, and then it connects them by a line. So it makes a whole bunch of lines. Points would make a line. And I always like blue, so I'm going to give it, you don't have to, you can leave it blank. I'm going to give it, say, color is the color property of G-curve is the color blue. Okay. Now, to add to that down here, what I'm going to do to plot a point on that graph, I'm going to say F1, which is the name I gave my G-curve. It has to be the same as the name you gave your G-curve. And then plot. And then I want to give it the x-coordinate, or the horizontal value, and the vertical value. So in this case, the horizontal value is t, and the vertical value is y. And let's just see what happens. I don't need to print that anymore. And there you go. And that's kind of amazing, but let's just increase it for a little bit longer time. And in fact, I want to make it look cooler. You don't have to make it cooler. I'm going to say dot equals true, and then down here in my loop, I'm going to say rate 100, and then I'm going to change this to 2. So rate 100 says don't do more than 100 loops every second. And so you can see how it's plotting the points, and it'll basically make an animated graph, which is kind of cool. You don't need to do that, but I wanted to do it. And there you go. So now what I want to point out is a couple of things. Number one, this looks like a known function. This looks like a sine function because it starts at 0. And in fact, it is the same as a sine function. And that's really kind of awesome that we didn't tell Python anything about what kind of curve it made. We just told it what to do. Right? We said, do this calculation, do this calculation, do this calculation, and it did. And we get a sine graph. If you solve this with differential equations, sine would be one of the solutions. And that's kind of cool. Okay. Next, look right here. It starts off at rest, right? So it has no kinetic energy. The spring's not stretched. It has no spring potential energy. It has no gravitational potential energy. But then as it falls down, it decreases in gravitational potential energy and increases in both kinetic energy and spring potential energy. And then it goes down here, and then it comes back up here to the same part, right? It didn't gain any energy because it got back to zero kinetic, zero spring potential energy, zero kinetic energy. So because this graph is the same, does not get bigger or smaller, we can see that energy is conserved, which we know it should be. So that's a fine feather in your cap, that your program conserves energy. Now, let's just try something. What if I make my time interval, I'm not going to make the rate, I'm not going to do this. And let's turn off the dot. I don't want the dot. The dots did something weird. So let's just make our time interval of 0.1 seconds. So a much larger time interval, and I run it, what happens? Well, you can see that it's blocky now, right? Because we're not calculating all these points in the middle. And it still kind of conserves energy, right? It still doesn't gain much energy right there. So that's kind of cool. Let's just try something just to show you what would happen. I'm going to put this back at 0, 1. And what I want to do is to calculate the acceleration right here before the loop. And now I'm going to calculate the velocity, update the velocity before I update the acceleration. So I had to do it once before the loop, or I didn't have a value for acceleration. So I'm going to calculate the update the velocity, then calculate the force, and then update position. See how it didn't work very well? And we know it didn't work because here you're starting off with zero energy. Here you have more energy, more energy, more energy. So it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger just because of the order operations. You don't need to know why that is, but in general, you want to calculate the acceleration first, then update velocity, and then update position. Now, if you have a bad algorithm, which we do here, you can actually fix it. If I can just say, well, let's just use a smaller time interval, very small time interval, and you'll notice it does work, right? But I paid for that. I paid for the price of my bad algorithm by having to have a very small time interval. So if I put it back the way we had it right here, I don't need that. Let's cut that. And let's cut this and put it back down here. Don't ask again. Oh, well, I'll type it. V equals V plus A times ET. And now I'm back to the way I was. And there you go. Super important numerical calculation and not super crazy. Look at that. All this is just variables. That's just for making a graph. And then I can get rid of these two lines right here. And then how many lines do I could even make this in one line. It's just super, super straightforward to do such an important thing. And that's a numerical calculation. The end. I'll talk to you later. Bye.